Okay, welcome. We've got another week ahead of us, and we're looking at the second half of Chapter 5 in Well Said. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at 5-5, and we are working on stress patterns, and at this point, we're going to look at stress patterns in numbers. Okay, so a lot of times, people who are native do not understand non-natives because the non-natives do not get the stress right on the numbers, so we don't know if it's 50 or 15 or 40 versus 14. So let's learn how to stress those so you know exactly what you need to say when it's time for you to say these numbers, okay? So we have 1250 or 1215, gate 40, gate 14, bus 30, bus 13. Okay, so here's the rule. Stress the first syllable in 10 numbers, and the 10 numbers are these: 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay, so those are your 10 numbers. So you're going to stress the first syllable, and then stress the teen syllable when it is the last word in the phrase. Okay, so it's 1250. It's 1215. Go to gate 40. Go to gate 14. So you notice that when I'm saying the 10 numbers, I am stressing the very first part of that word, the actual one that gives us the context, right? It gives us what number it is. Fifth meaning 5 and 4 meaning F-O-U-R, right? And 30, the T-H-I-R, is the 3 representation. So stress the first syllable in your 10 words, and then stress the teen when you have it in the teen number, or when it's the last word in the phrase. Okay. However, when the teen number is in the middle of the phrase, usually stress both syllables. So notice up here, the teen was the end of the phrase, but down here, the teen is in the middle. There's another word that follows. So the rule is, go ahead and stress both syllables if there are words that follow that number. So here we have the same. You need 50 credits. You need 15 credits. Okay. Notice I didn't say 15. I said 15. So that's an equal stress on both numbers there, or both syllables actually. Okay. That'll be $30. That'll be $13. So we really make sure that both are stressed because there's going to be a word that follows, and we don't want our voice to drop and cause confusion. So here is a very helpful hint, and you want to make sure that you kind of know this one actually. So another way to recognize the difference between the numbers like 40 and 14 is the pronunciation of the letter T. Now, you've had a little bit of experiences with this with Betty Botter, right? We know that when a T or D comes between two vowels, we're going to flap the T, meaning we're going to turn it into a very quick D. So it sounds like the tip of your tongue is hitting the top of the roof of your mouth very quickly and coming back down. So we don't say the T sound, but we say the D sound. But it's quick. D, 50, 40. So it's D, D. Okay, so in teen numbers, the T sounds like a clear T for teen, but in the 10 number, the T sounds like a quick D. Okay, 40, 50, and so on. And part of that is through that E sound at the end, 40, 50, 60, 70, because that's a vowel sound. So it just makes it easier for us to have a D because that's also a voiced sound. Okay. So you got that, and let's keep going because we do have several rules that we're going to have. Now, here's exercise 5, and exercise 5 is going to be part of the assignment that you're going to be doing. And you can listen to this on your own CD2 track 10 and listen to that to get used to it. And then when you go into week 7 in the assignment area, then all you have to do is, you've listened to it before, so you're probably pretty certain if the speaker is saying 19 or 90, okay? The fun part of this is usually when I teach face-to-face, I usually have students do this in groups and they guess the percentage. It's kind of fun to see before you decide What do you think? How many people in the United States cannot wake themselves up? Is it 19% without an alarm or 90%? So before you choose it, you should think about it yourself and just see if you're right. It's kind of fun that way. But your job is when you get there, there's going to be a drop down button and it's going to either be 19 or 90, the number. So you're going to just select which number you hear. So that's not a bad assignment. I also have the CD track 2, track 10 in the assignment itself, so you can listen to it in the assignment, but you can also go out and do this for practice so you can get a good feel of what you're hearing, okay? So that's practice. Now we've got Rule 5-6. Rule 5-6 says, listen to these 2-syllable verbs with the prefix of re or re, con or ad, and a base. Where's the stress? Okay? Require, convince, admit, okay? Require a conversation, convince the voters. I must admit. Where do you hear that stress? Okay? Hopefully you heard it on the last part, receive, decide, prefers. So stress the final syllable or the base in most 2-syllable verbs with the prefix, like re or de or ad or pre or con. Okay, the next rule we're going to look at is working with our 2-syllable verbs that also can be used as nouns. And this is a really important rule because it's one that you can learn easily and it will really help your pronunciation. It's a very quick rule for you to know, okay? So I'm going to pronounce these words and you can listen to CD2 track 12 if you'd like. But if I do the verb listening to the stress or the noun of the same word, but I'm going to change it to a noun by switching the stress, okay? So here's one, conduct. Here's the noun, conduct. Here's the verb, desert. Here's the noun, desert. Here's the verb, record. The noun, record. Here's the verb, produce. Here's the noun, produce. That's like apples or oranges or anything that you'd find in the vegetable section that's called produce. That's the noun. But if I'm going to make a record, then I want that record produced. So you can see that the stress is on the second syllable, okay? Here's the verb, permit. Please permit me to go tonight, Mom. But then when you're 16, you go get your driver's permit, okay? So one is permit me and the other one is a permit, like a driver's permit, okay? So the rule here is to stress the second syllable in the verbs and the first syllable in the nouns. So coming back to conduct means I'm conducting the orchestra, you know, the person who does that is the conductor, right? So, and then your conduct is how you behave. He had really good conduct at that meeting today. That's behavior. But conduct on the second syllable is when we do the verb, when we're actually creating something with music and leading the band, right? And then we all know well, desert means to leave someone, okay? It also means something that you can eat, but desert means for you to, he deserted me and just left me standing right there at the movies, okay? People get punished if they desert from the army. They don't like deserters. All right, now, desert is the place that you go when there's not a lot of mountains or trees or things like that. It's a lot of sand. It's pretty hot. It's very barren and vacant. So that's the desert. And then there's desert somebody. And I'm not talking about the dessert you eat because that is a noun. But when you desert someone, okay? And then we did the record, but the record is to, if you're a singer, you're going to record your voice, right? And then in the old days, you're going to put that on a record. That was the round thing made of vinyl that you recorded your record. Okay, so if you're going to say the noun form of the same word, then you're going to put the stress on the first syllable. And if you're going to say the verb form of that word, you're going to put the stress on the second syllable. Okay. And then please listen to CD2 track 13 and you'll really get the idea of how the nouns and the verbs sound differently. All right. So now let's go into, let's make sure we check this note real quick, okay? Some two-syllable noun verb pairs do not shift stress. Report, reply, answer, okay? And then in your book, Appendix B will give you a list of noun verb pairs with or without the shift of stress, okay? Here's my report. Report to that teacher. No change in stress. I'm going to reply to her, okay? Did you get a reply? So there's no change in stress. So whether you're using the noun or the verb, some do not change stress. Answer me. Did you get an answer? Okay, same stress was on the first on that one. Okay, so it's just a note that, not all of these one words that have either a verb or a noun component to them, not all of them change stress, but many, many, many do. All right, let's go to the next one here. Let's go to Rule 5-8. So here it has, listen to the stress pattern in two-word verbs. Okay, not two-syllable verbs, but two-word verbs. Which word has the stronger stress? Well, to print something, you all have printed out something before, right? And out. So we have, it's a two-word verb. We call it phrasal verbs. Out is not a verb necessarily, but it is a particle. And that particle often pairs with the main verb to create a two-word verb called phrasal verb or a participle verb, okay? So print out, put off, what do you hear the stress? Okay, print out, put off. You should hear it on the second syllable. Print it out, he put it off, okay? Give more stress to the second word or the particle. Usually the particle is a preposition, right? Those are often used as particles because they're being paired with a verb, so we'll call them particles, not necessarily a preposition. When we use them as a preposition, we're usually using them with a noun phrase that follows that. So when we're using it with a verb, then they're often called particles, okay? So print out. Could you please print that out? Okay. So let's take a look at some two-word verbs have noun forms. And I will tell you print out is one of them, okay? Compare the stress pattern. Let's look at the nouns. Here's the handout. He handed it out, okay? Or will you hand this out for me? How about, let's get takeout. So that's something you pick up from a Chinese restaurant or a Mexican food restaurant or any restaurant really. It's called takeout, right? But takeout is the actual thing you carry, the food that you have, so that's a noun. But if you want to take out the trash, then we're going to say, let's take it out, or take out the trash. Out is stressed rather than take is because it is a verb plus the particle, and we're using it as a verb. But if we're using the noun form of that, let's go get takeout, then again, we are going to stress the first syllable, and that's going to put the focus on the actual noun part of that, okay? That's a ripoff. You paid $200 for that. You can buy it for $50. That's a ripoff. Ripoff is idiomatic to mean that you were cheated, okay? And so you might hear that, boy, you got ripped off, okay? When you hear it when, whoa, you got ripped off, that's the verb form, okay? I got ripped off. So someone stole from me, someone cheated me. And then if I'm just talking about the act of that itself, then I said, that's a ripoff. They shouldn't have done that. You got ripped off. So English is pretty crazy, right? If you're using it as a verb, you're going to put the stress on that participle, or the particle, I should say, on the particle. And if you're going to use its equivalent noun form, you're going to put the stress on the first syllable. And that's something to take a look at. And here's some very, very common ones in English. Okay. So in student, here, you would do this with a student, but it depends on where you put the stress. Object. Money is no object. That's a thing you can hold, okay? A goal to attain. And then object. Oh, I object to that. No, we're not going to go do that. I object. Okay, does anyone strongly object? You hear this a lot in court. Your Honor, I object. Right? You hear that. So object, that's a thing. Object, that's a verb. And then we've done the produce, like Garlis is in the produce section, or produce, Robert Redford acts, produces, and directs. And here's one that's really hard to hear. It really is. Workout, that means the routine that you have. That means all the elements in that routine that you have, like you lift weights and you run and you jump rope. That's your workout. That's the thing, okay? But if you want to go actually do the physical part of that, then we say, oh, let's go work out. Work out. What is your normal workout routine? Well, let's go work out. Yeah, it can be kind of funny, right? So if you use it as a noun, stress is on the first syllable. You use it as a verb, you stress the second. Same with printout. Oh, could you hand me that printout over there? Thank you. The printout, that piece of paper. That's a noun because it's a thing. You're gonna deliver that to me. But then if I want you to go do that, oh, will you please print that out for me? Yeah, I need that printed out. Thank you. Okay, so if I'm going to tell you to do the physical act, that's going to be the verb. The stress is going to be on that second. But if I want that physical thing, I actually want it, then it's going to be the noun form, which is going to be on the first syllable. Okay. Now, contract is the thing you sign. If you lease a new car or buy a new house, you got to sign that contract, right? That physical thing, piece of paper. It's legal. But now, right now, this is being taped through the coronavirus. We don't want to contract the virus. That means to get something, right? That means to actually ingest or inhale or somehow get it. So if we use get, then that's the verb. So to contract the virus. Okay. So practice these. Your pronunciation is going to go much, much higher. Let's do a few more here. It's quite a few. That's a beautiful lookout over there. We were hiking and there was this place you could sit down and look at the mountains. It was a really nice lookout space. It's that place that you can actually go to. That's the lookout. Okay? And we can have it as an expression. Look out! You almost got hit by that car. So that, I'm telling you, is a verb that you need to beware. Look out. Okay. We also have lookouts people, who have the binoculars and with police officers and they're undercover and they're trying to see if the bad guy's coming and they're acting as the lookout. That's the person. Okay. But if you have to do the actual action, we'll just say, go look out the window. Okay. See if it's raining. All right. So at Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas or your birthday or any particular holiday, any New Year that you have in your culture, a lot of times you get presents. Presents, that's the noun. But if you go somewhere and you have to give a speech, you often present. Okay, that's on the second. Now, in our terms, in American culture, we have layoff. And that's the actual act of having no job, okay? So we don't like layoffs, but in COVID, there was so many layoffs, so many people who lost their job. And that's an actual state layoff, okay? Being unemployed. But when someone does that to you, when the business actually not fires you, but actually lets you go because there's no jobs to be had, then you were laid off. Lay off. Okay, so he expects to be laid off. All right. A lot of you work on projects, and we're going to be working on a project soon when you guys go work with, I'm going to have you work with storyboard that, and you're working on your projects, right? That's a project. That's a thing that you have to do and accomplish. But when you project, when it's the verb, then project means that you're looking into the future, or if you're speaking and you have to speak up louder, you have to project your voice, then that's the verb form of that, okay? And then clean up, then if a lot of us got together and say, well, we're going to go to the beach and we're going to pick up all the trash, then we all are going to this activity called the cleanup, okay? It's an activity. We're not physically doing it, it's the name of the activity. And then when we get there and we do the action, then we're going to go clean up the beach. This is our cleanup party. What we do is we clean up the beach, okay? Tricky stuff. All right, now we're going to get into exercise 8. You're going to need to listen to CD2 track 16. Listen to where the stress happens on these types of words. And then I'm going to tell you which rule they are doing so you will get more familiar. So when you take the quiz in week 7, you're going to have a quiz on chapter 5 on rules 5-1 through 5-8. You can go back and think, what is the rule that governs whether I'm going to stress the first word or the second word? If I'm going to stress both words, what's the rule to that? Okay? So I'll be giving you those rules in just a second here. In exercise 8 here, when you listen to CD2 track 16, you're going to hear the way the speaker says this in the context of a sentence, okay? And what I'm going to recommend you do as you listen to it, and you probably want to listen to it a few times, maybe to go back to the rule that governs or controls that particular stress based on the rule, okay? So number 1 is going to be, so what rule would you think that paycheck comes from? Malik deposited his paycheck, okay? You can look back at rule 5-1. Sometimes you can look, sometimes these words seem like they can fall into other categories. Like rule 5-1 talks about compound nouns, 2 nouns in one word, and if that's the case, then you're going to stress the first syllable. If you go back to rule 5-1, but also you might think of that as an adjective noun, and if it's used as an adjective noun, the result is the same. You still accent or stress on the first syllable. But sometimes it's hard to nail down these rules, but 5-1 definitely works for this one. So newspaper, which one do you think would work for that? Which again, you can look at rule 5-1, or it could be the rule with the adjective, a 5-4 with the adjective noun, if you're using news as an adjective, but news is also a noun. So if it gets a little bit kind of confusing, if you definitely know that the word's an adjective by its category, if you looked it up in the dictionary and it says this word's an adjective, and the next word is a noun, then you definitely have rule 5-4. Result is the same. You still stress the first syllable, okay? So then we have Ty was overwhelmed. So you might want to look at 5-6 on that. It's just a phase. He'll outgrow it. Again, you might want to look at 5-6. Now, dropouts is another one of these words. Unemployment is high among high school dropouts. And dropouts is a noun in this case because it is what we call a person who doesn't complete high school. We call them dropping out of high school, but it also has a verb component. So you can drop out of high school, you can be a high school dropout, okay? Or dropout, I should say it that way. So 5-7 is probably going to be a good rule to look at there because when you have both a verb and a noun with the same word, just depends on where you hit that stress, okay? Don't give up so easily. Give up being a verb. You might want to look at 5.8 on that one. And then can you convert Fahrenheit to Celsius? So you want to look at 5.7 on that one. Have the police identified any suspects? That's a noun. So you want to look at 5-7 on that one as well. And then we sat next to the runway for hours before we took off. Runway. Okay, so you want to look at 5-1 or could be, again, that adjective noun. And then took off. Look at 5-8 on that one. Okay, I'll pick you up at 7:30. So I'll pick you up at 7:30. So we did some rules for that one, and we did 5.8 and 5.5. And for the next one, rejected, you want to look at 5.6. They rejected our proposal. That's where you have a prefix with the base. And where do you stress that? When you have the base, you stress it on the base, right? And then for 12, you want to look at, for the first word, 5-1, for the second word, 5-6, and for the third word, 5-8. So listen to CD2 track 16, and you can really hear the speakers do that. But the homework is explained in the handout. Homework, because that's a compound noun, so stresses on the first, is explained, stresses on the second, because that is a verb that has a prefix to it, like EX, so it's on the second syllable. In the handout is a noun because it's something you can physically give someone. So you want to look at rule 5-8 because handout has the noun form and handout has the verb form. Okay? So I was just trying to help you identify the rules to go back to if you want to really learn how do we put stress on these particular words. A lot of rules, can be a little bit complicated, so study this really well because you do have a test on it at the end of the week. And go back and just read the rules. Okay? All right, everybody. So, and the test is just going to be a statement of the rules for the most part. So when you take the test, have your book out and have the rules so that when you take the test, you can look at the rule and see if what I'm saying is the rule, if it's true or false. Okay? All right, so it's not hard, but you should study them, these rules, practice them, and then have your book open when you take your test. But don't just have your book open when you take the test and think, well, I won't read it, I'll just have my book open, and when the test comes up, I'll just copy. You have to know the rule because I might say something that you have to be paying attention because I want to make sure that you know that rule. Okay? So, can do well on the test. It's not a difficult test, but you just really should review the chapter. Okay, everybody, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you online.